Let's start with Vanguard newspaper, page 5. Petrol tops 500 naira per litre as subsidy removal takes effect.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sir.
You know that, and this is my view, some might like it, some might not, but I'm just going to give my views this morning. We have a Nigerian problem of always trying to, I don't want to use the word impress, I'm looking for a more decent word in this circumstance, without going over the facts of what we want to do. Let me give you an example. Somebody is not too well, you haven't had enough money to treat that person. The person dies and you now start running around looking for money for a befitting burial because you must kill a cow, you must buy an expensive coffin, and so on and so forth. It's not an APC problem, it's not a Tinubu problem, it's not a civil service problem, it is a Nigerian problem. Why do I say so? The rush with which we do things, again, most of us Nigerians are like that. We want to get to the destination before we ever got started. The question I want to ask is, would we have lost anything at all if the president had resumed on Monday, made 1 or 2 or 3 key appointments by Wednesday, sat back with all the relevant bodies, and now have what we would call a graded subsidy removal? This because the things, I think the president has said he wants to hit the ground running and he wants to prove that. But we must remember that we are dealing with the lives of human beings. At the end of the day, they look like figures, 50,000 people, but each one of them is a human being. This one that we have done in this manner, it will take almost forever for us to recover. The first time I saw this was when Babangida resumed. The currency was about 4 to 1 then to $1, and overnight he just made an announcement that the naira had been completely devalued. I don't think things, and then of course it went and we never recovered from it till as we speak. I don't think that is the proper way to do things. I think that I would have appreciated if the president had did. You see, when you do studies outside government, it's different from when you are in charge and you can now be given real figures, real scenarios. Okay? And I hope that our leaders will stop putting politics above the lives and well-being of our citizens. A lot of our citizens now have been thrown into complete disarray in the midst of confusion. Let me say very clearly, there is no doubt that the subsidy had to go. But I want to be convinced that if we tarried a while to do things in a gradual manner, I'm not talking of even just gradual removal, but all the stakeholders and everything with the purpose that it is going, we wouldn't have achieved what we wanted. It's sad. I sat back to look at these things. I told Sheriff something in secret this morning, and the man is still laughing at me. You know, I felt so stupid about 1 or 2 things. This is not a way countries grow. It takes a lot. This is going to take a long time because the ripple effects are imaginable. A lot of people think that it's just the elite who want to fill their cars. It's not just that. People will start losing their jobs by the end of this month from the ripple effect of this. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Those who are educated, and maybe you now have more people working from home, fair enough. But how much are you going to pay your clerk, your messenger, your whatever now, that will cover the cost of transport? I just got a text this morning that from Lekki to Abraham Adesanya by taxi was 19,000. This morning. I just got it now. And so that is one. The other thing is that I can see the same scenario playing out. You rush and declare something, NLC says no, you go into meetings, you go in, there's a deadlock. At the end of the day, you'll end up with plus or minus 10, 15 naira. And then life goes on. More people go off the employment line. traders, traders, most of their goods can't be sold because the prices are too high, and so on and so forth. I think it's sad. We haven't even thought of what we can do to absorb the shock. Somebody is coming up with something about palliatives and so on and so forth. We know the way these so-called palliatives go. We know what, even when Nigeria was facing the biggest crisis of COVID, we know what happened to palliatives. I would have, honestly, I want an economist to come and tell me if we couldn't do a graduated removal, and in the meantime, you can provide better alternatives for people. But in one fell swoop, just like that, bang, and now we have a crisis on our hands. Like Sheriff said to me this morning, he's happy that the queues have disappeared. The queues have disappeared because 3/4 of those who probably wanted to buy fuel don't even have that money to go, so they've gone back home. So what do you have? If you are going to be charging, for example, 19,000 from Lekki to Ibrahim Adesoya, in another week there will be no passenger to get into your car. And guess what? At least for the elite, I have something to tell you. This fuel you are going to be buying at 500, which is 50,000 to fill the tanks of some people who have large cars. You will end up burning half of it in traffic. So it's a spiral. To the main story here, it says that depots would sell at 470 per litre. NNPC say the initial NNPC release didn't even state any amount. It just said the price had been adjusted. It didn't say whether the prices have been adjusted to market forces. It left you to figure that out. But anyway, we say it's now between, I think, 490 and about 510. You said this morning,
right?
That we have. NNPC have adjusted the prices. So meanwhile, the meeting is going on between NNPC and the government, and between Labour, and government. I don't expect much to come out of it. I've seen these meetings happen over and over and over and over again. So, from the look of things, you'll be lucky. You'll be very lucky if it ever comes down to something like 400. So you better brace up for that. The other thing, of course, to brace up, unemployment is going to be difficult. If I have a domestic staff, for example, so how much am I going to pay my domestic staff unless I'm ready to accommodate him in my house? How much am I going to pay him? My own income hasn't gone up, so what's going to happen? At the lower end, there'll be so much unemployment, it will be unbelievable. But let's see as we go along. I still plead with Nigeria that, we do things in a gradual and methodical manner that carries everybody along so that you can see. The Nigerian people are not, what do you call these things on the draft board that you can move around. We are talking of human beings. We are talking of human lives. And some people get political about it. I see people phoning in contributions. They get political about it. And let's rally around. Let's do this. Let's do that. But you're talking of human lives that are affected. For God's sake, let us have empathy. Those of us who are in privileged positions, let us have empathy for those who don't have.